Ladies and gentlemen, let me hit you with something real quick. You ever feel like you're doing everything for everyone else and still coming up short for yourself? Like you're constantly explaining yourself, defending your moves, trying to prove your worth to people who don't even clap when you win. Let me tell you something that stops today, because the real glow up, it don't come from shouting louder. It comes from going quiet and going hard. When you stop chasing approval and start chasing your purpose, everything changes. When you quit responding to disrespect and start responding to you, your goals, your dreams, your peace, life gets real clear. People start wondering what you're up to. They get nervous when they can't figure you out. And that's the point. Silence isn't weakness. Silence is strategy. Focusing on yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. So listen closely, because in this speech, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to wake you up. If you're tired of being drained, tired of being overlooked, tired of watching everybody else live while you survive, then this right here, this message is your turning point. Stay locked in. Because once you learn the power of focusing on yourself and staying silent, ain't nothing in this world that can shake you. When you focus only on yourself, you stop comparing your life to others and finally start living on your terms. And that right there is a game changer. See, we live in a world that pushes you to keep looking over your shoulder. Social media got folks thinking they're behind because someone else posted a new car, a new house, a perfect relationship, or a dream job. And if you're not careful, you start running a race you never even wanted to be in. You start chasing things that ain't even for you. That's the trap of comparison, and it's a silent killer of joy, peace, and purpose. The truth is, when you spend your energy watching someone else's path, you lose sight of your own. You're not growing, you're just scrolling. You're not improving, you're just reacting. And you end up measuring your worth based on someone else's highlight reel. But what you don't see is the full picture. You don't see the struggles behind the scenes. You don't see the breakdowns behind the breakthroughs. You're comparing your real life to their edited version. And that's never a fair fight. That's why the shift happens when you stop watching and start working. When you lock in on you, your mindset, your habits, your health, your goals, you stop caring about how fast someone else is moving because you realize the only competition is the person you were yesterday. That's the only scoreboard that matters. You get real honest with yourself. Am I doing the work I said I'd do? Am I showing up for myself today? Because if the answer to that is yes, you're winning. Focusing only on yourself doesn't mean being selfish. It means being responsible. It means you've finally realized that your happiness, your peace, your success, it all begins with you. And you can't build that if your eyes are always on someone else. You stop chasing their version of success and start defining your own. What does joy look like to you? What does freedom feel like? What's your dream? Because it doesn't have to look like anyone else's. The moment you embrace that is the moment you stop apologizing for taking a different route. You stop feeling behind because you understand real growth ain't loud. It's quiet, it's personal, it's yours. And here's the thing, when you really commit to focusing on yourself, you start moving different. You spend less time explaining and more time executing. You're not worried about who's watching because you're too focused on building. You stop seeking validation and start trusting your own voice. You get clear on your values, your time, and your boundaries. And suddenly, your life starts to feel lighter. Not because it got easier, but because you got stronger. People will notice. They'll see you not reacting like you used to. They'll see you more centered, more focused, more unbothered. And some won't like that because the version of you that needed their approval is gone. But that's okay. You're not living for applause anymore. You're living for purpose. You're not proving, you're producing. And that quiet confidence, that self-made peace, that's something no one can take from you. So if you find yourself getting distracted by what they're doing, bring it back home. Refocus. Ask yourself, what can I control today? What step can I take toward becoming better than I was yesterday? And then do it, one small step at a time. You won't always feel motivated, but if you stay disciplined, if you stay consistent, the results will show up. Maybe not overnight, but they'll come. And when they do, you'll know it wasn't because you followed the crowd. It was because you stayed true to your path. That's the power of focusing only on yourself. It gives you clarity. It gives you peace. It gives you control. You stop living by other people's timelines and you start walking in your truth. And trust me, that's where real freedom lies. Not in the noise, but in the stillness of knowing you're building something real for you. Staying silent doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're strong enough not to react to nonsense. That's a truth most people miss. See, the loudest person in the room usually ain't the strongest. They're just the most insecure. Real strength, it doesn't need a microphone. It doesn't need to clap back. It doesn't have to prove anything. Because when you truly know who you are and where you're going, not everything deserves your energy, your voice, or your explanation. We live in a time where everybody feels the need to respond. Somebody throws shade and we're quick to fire back. Somebody disrespects us and we want to match it word for word, attitude for attitude. But ask yourself, what does that get you? Does it solve the problem? Does it bring peace? Most of the time, it just drags you down to their level. You end up drained, frustrated, and distracted from what actually matters. That's why silence, calculated, intentional silence, is power. It's not giving up. It's leveling up. When you stay silent, you give yourself time to think. You don't just react. You reflect. You look at the situation with clarity, not emotion. And sometimes that pause, that decision not to respond is the greatest strength you can show. Because you're choosing peace over pride. You're choosing growth over drama. And that choice puts you in control. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you let people walk all over you. I'm saying you don't let them pull you out of character. There's a big difference. You know who you are. You know your worth. And you don't need to explain or defend that to people who don't value it. You don't owe anyone a reaction. In fact, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing. Think about this. When someone comes at you expecting a reaction and you give them silence instead, it throws them off. They can't figure you out. They can't feed off your anger or your hurt. You starve the drama and it dies right there. That's strength. That's control. And that's how you protect your energy. See, everybody wants peace, but not everybody is willing to protect it. They think peace comes from people treating them right, but real peace comes from how you respond when they don't. Your silence can be your shield, not because you're scared, but because you're smart. Because you know that reacting to every little thing is like stopping your car every time a dog barks. You'll never get to your destination. So next time someone comes at you sideways, trying to test you, disrespect you, push your buttons, don't play their game. Remember who you are. Remember what you're building. Is that argument going to help you grow? Is that clapback going to elevate your life? If the answer is no, don't waste your breath. Your energy is sacred. Treat it that way. People will talk. Let them. People will judge. Let them. People will try to pull you into mess. Let them try. You're not here for that. You're here to elevate, to build, to rise. And that path, it's not crowded because it requires discipline. It requires focus. And it requires knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. And over time, you'll see the power in that silence. You'll see how much energy you save, how much peace you keep, how much more focused you are on your own goals, because you're not out here reacting to noise. You're making moves in silence. You're letting your progress be your response. Your discipline, your growth, your peace. That's the real flex. So the next time someone says something slick, tries to test your patience, or brings drama to your doorstep, ask yourself this: is this worth my energy? Is this helping my growth? Is this aligning with who I want to become? And if it's not, stay silent. Walk away. Keep building, because that's not weakness, that's wisdom. And in a world full of noise, silence is a superpower. When you learn to let your actions speak louder than your words, your whole life changes. You stop telling people what you're going to do and start showing them through your results. You don't need to broadcast every move you're making. You don't have to announce every goal or defend every decision. You let your progress do the talking. That's how real winners move. Quiet, steady, focused, and relentless. See, too many folks get caught up in talking about the dream instead of building it. They spend more time making noise than making progress. But here's the truth: success doesn't need an audience. Growth doesn't need applause. When you're really grinding, when you're truly focused, you don't have time to explain yourself to everybody. You're too busy putting in the work. While others are busy making announcements, you're making moves. You know what's powerful? Walking into a room and letting your energy speak for itself. You don't need to say a word. People can feel your discipline, your commitment, your mindset. That's real presence. That's real power. And you build that when you stop trying to prove something and start living it. When you stop saying, I'm going to do this, and just do it. Think about this: a lion doesn't have to tell you it's a lion. It doesn't roar for attention. It walks with confidence because it knows who it is. That's how you need to walk through life. Confident, focused, and quiet. You don't owe anyone explanations. Not everyone deserves to know your plans, because not everyone clapping is cheering for you. Some people just want information so they can use it against you. They'll pretend to support you, but secretly hope you fail. That's why moving in silence protects your energy and your mission. When you stop talking and start acting, you also stop giving people the chance to talk you out of your dream. Sometimes when you speak too soon, you open the door to doubt, yours or someone else's. But when you keep things to yourself and stay focused, there's no room for anyone else's fear or negativity. It's just you and the goal. You keep your head down, you stay in your lane, and you let your results scream so loud that nobody can deny what you've done. Let your wins talk. Let your transformation speak for itself. Let your consistency, your hustle, your glow up be the conversation. You don't have to prove anything to anyone who isn't walking your journey. And you don't need approval from folks who've never done what you're trying to do. The only proof you need is your progress. Every step you take, every early morning, every late night, every sacrifice you make, it all adds up, and over time it becomes undeniable. And don't worry if nobody's watching right now. Don't worry if nobody's cheering. Your journey isn't meant for everybody to understand. Some seasons are private on purpose. Growth happens in the dark, like a seed in the soil. Nobody sees what's happening beneath the surface, but that doesn't mean it's not powerful. Eventually, the results will bloom. And the same people who doubted you will be the ones asking how you did it. That's the beauty of moving in silence and letting your actions speak. You stop wasting time trying to explain, justify, or convince. You put that energy into execution. And while others are still talking, you're already walking in the reality they said was impossible. That's the kind of revenge you want. The kind that's built with success, not bitterness. The kind that turns pain into progress and silence into strength. So from this moment on, decide to be about it, not just talk about it. Let your life speak. Let your actions make the statement. Let your work ethic do the shouting. Because when you move like that, the world takes notice, not because you asked it to, but because it can't help but respect what you built. And all you had to do was stay focused, stay quiet, and stay working. When you choose to focus only on yourself, something powerful starts to happen. You begin to see how much of your energy was being wasted on things and people that didn't serve your growth. You realize how often you've been caught up in other people's opinions, drama, expectations, and emotions. And slowly, you start cutting ties, not with people necessarily, but with that mindset that told you to fix, please, or explain yourself to everyone around you. You stop trying to carry weight that was never yours to carry in the first place. Focusing only on yourself doesn't mean you become selfish. It means you finally understand that your peace, your progress, and your purpose deserve priority. You stop looking left and right and finally start looking in the mirror. That's where your real work is. Not in trying to control what others do, not in trying to get validation from outside voices, but in showing up every day for your own vision, your own goals, your own healing. There's freedom in that focus. You start making better decisions not out of fear or guilt, but from clarity. You stop overthinking. You stop over-explaining. You stop shrinking yourself just to fit in. When your eyes are on your own path, you stop comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. You stop chasing timelines that don't belong to you. You understand that what's for you will not miss you, and your job is not to beg for it, chase it, or stress about it. Your job is to be ready for it. When you stay in your lane, you move faster, you waste less time. You stop making detours into people's drama, gossip, or mess. You start protecting your mind like it's sacred ground, because it is. You don't let just anybody dump their problems, their negativity, or their toxic energy into your space. You create boundaries, not to push people away, but to protect what you're building. And yes, that's going to confuse some folks. Some people won't like it when you stop people pleasing. They'll call you distant, cold, arrogant even. That's only because they were used to you putting yourself last. They were comfortable when you were overgiving, overthinking, overstretching. But now that you've started prioritizing your peace, your dreams, your well-being, they don't know what to do with that. And that's okay. Let them adjust. You didn't come this far to stay stuck trying to make everyone else comfortable while you're uncomfortable in your own skin. You see, when you really lock in on yourself, the noise fades. You start to hear your own voice again. Not the voice of fear, not the voice of doubt, not the voice of others telling you what you should or shouldn't be, but your voice. The one inside that's been waiting patiently for you to listen. That voice knows what you need. That voice has been guiding you all along, even when you were too distracted to hear it. That's why focusing on yourself is so powerful. It reconnects you to your intuition. It brings you back to center. And from that place, you can build a life that actually feels good on the inside, not one that just looks good on the outside. Because real success, real happiness, real peace, they don't come from being busy. They come from being aligned. So let go of the pressure to fix everyone else. Let go of the need to be everywhere and everything to everybody. Come home to yourself. Focus on your growth, on your healing, on your goals, on your routines, on your peace. That's where the magic happens. Not out there in the chaos, but right here. In the quiet commitment you make to yourself. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing yourself. You owe it to yourself to stop abandoning who you are just to be accepted by people who don't even know your worth. Because the more you focus on yourself, the more you rise quietly, consistently, powerfully. And eventually, the same people who questioned your silence, your distance, your grind, they'll be the ones asking how you did it. And you won't have to say much. because your growth will say it all. When you get your emotions under control, you gain a power most people never tap into. See, the world will test you. People will push your buttons. Situations will come up that feel unfair, frustrating, and sometimes even disrespectful. But here's what sets strong people apart from everybody else. They don't let emotions drive the car. They let logic, discipline, and clarity take the wheel, because reacting out of emotion almost always takes you further from where you're trying to go. We live in a world where folks wear their feelings on their sleeves. Somebody says the wrong thing, and now it's a war. Someone looks at you sideways, and suddenly you're in defense mode. But every time you let your emotions take control, you give away your power. You let someone else dictate your mood, your behavior, your energy. And if they can control that, they can control you. Getting control over your emotions is not about pretending nothing bothers you. It's not about being a robot. It's about being wise. It's about understanding that you don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to respond to every insult. You don't have to react just because somebody wants a reaction. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Silence, stillness, calm. That's not weakness. That's strength. It takes strength to pause. It takes strength to breathe instead of explode. It takes strength to say, you know what, I'm not going to let this mess up my peace. That's not avoiding your emotions. That's mastering them. Because when you master your emotions, you don't just survive the storm, you learn how to control your sails in it. You ever notice how the loudest people are often the ones who are hurting the most? That's because they haven't learned how to sit with their feelings. They haven't learned that pain doesn't need to be screamed. It needs to be processed. And if you don't take time to deal with what's going on inside you, it'll show up in your reactions, your choices, your relationships. So when you start controlling your emotions, you start protecting everything you're building. You stop saying things you'll regret. You stop burning bridges you might need later. You stop showing people they can get to you. That doesn't mean you become cold. It means you become calculated. You learn how to respond instead of react. You learn how to stay grounded, even when the ground feels like it's shaking beneath you. And when you get to that point, you'll see people trying to figure you out. They'll try to trigger you, to test you, to pull you into the drama. But when you don't bite, when you stay calm, they lose that power over you. That's when you win. That's when you rise above the noise and keep your eyes on the bigger picture. Because you're not here to win petty arguments. You're here to build a life. Think about the energy you save when you don't react to every little thing. That energy can go into your dreams, your goals, your peace of mind. Every time you choose peace over chaos, focus over foolishness, growth over drama, you're moving one step closer to the life you really want. A life where you're not ruled by the moods of others, but by the mission inside you. Let people talk. Let them judge. Let them underestimate you. You don't need to prove anything through loud words or emotional outbursts. Your discipline is proof. Your calm is proof. Your silence is powerful. And when it's time to speak, you speak with purpose, not emotion. That's how you stay in control. So if you want to get ahead, don't just hustle, don't just grind. Master your emotions. That's the key most people are missing. They've got the talent, they've got the ambition, but they fall apart every time they get triggered. Don't be like that. Be the one who stays solid when everything around you is trying to shake you. Be the one who knows their worth so deeply they don't need to react to every challenge, because at the end of the day, emotional control isn't about suppressing how you feel. It's about channeling it in the right direction. It's about turning frustration into fuel, turning anger into action, turning doubt into discipline. And when you do that consistently, There's nothing you can't handle. That's not just power, that's maturity. And that maturity will take you further than talent, looks, or luck ever could. When you stay focused on yourself and silent about your plans, you start to notice something powerful. Peace enters your life, and progress becomes your personal business. There's something about moving in silence that shifts everything. It's not about being secretive just to be mysterious. It's about protecting your energy. Because let's be real, not everybody deserves front row seats to your process. Some folks only want to watch so they can doubt you, distract you, or talk you out of your dreams. That's why keeping quiet while you work on yourself is one of the smartest things you'll ever do. Talking too much too soon can ruin things before they even get started. You ever shared an idea with somebody and watched their face drop, or heard them say, "You really think you can do that?" That energy right there, it plants seeds of doubt. And once doubt starts growing, it can slow you down, make you question yourself, or worse, make you quit. That's why silence is sacred. When you stay quiet, you stay in control. You don't give people the chance to shoot holes in your vision before it's even fully formed. There's also a discipline in not having to announce every move. It teaches you self-trust. It teaches you patience. When you don't need validation from others, you grow stronger. You start relying on your own belief, your own work ethic, your own grind. And the truth is, when you're really locked in, you don't even have time to explain yourself to people. You're too busy building. You're too focused on the next step, the next level, the next version of you. Silence also protects you from unnecessary drama. The more people know, the more they feel entitled to an opinion. And let's face it, some people don't want you to grow. Not because they hate you, but because your growth makes them uncomfortable with their own stagnation. Your progress reminds them of their lack of progress. And instead of being inspired, they get insecure. They start gossiping. They start trying to distract you. That's why silence isn't just about being low key. It's about being wise. It's about keeping your peace while you plant your seeds, knowing that when the fruit comes, everybody will see it anyway. Now, don't get it twisted. This doesn't mean you don't have a team or people you trust. It just means you choose them carefully. You don't overshare with folks who haven't earned the right to be part of your journey. Not everyone is rooting for you. And even some who love you still carry their own fears, and they'll project those fears onto you. You have to know the difference between real support and disguised limitation. When you stay focused and silent, you're also less likely to compare your journey to others. You stop looking left and right to see who's doing what, and you start looking straight ahead. That's how you make real progress. Comparison is the thief of joy and the enemy of focus. But when your head is down, your mouth is closed, and your heart is full of purpose, you stop worrying about who's watching, who's doubting, or who's ahead. You just keep moving forward, one step at a time. And the best part, when you finally show the results, when the transformation is visible, when the success speaks for itself, nobody can say it came out of nowhere. You'll know how much work you put in behind the scenes. You'll remember the nights you didn't sleep, the times you wanted to quit, the moments you doubted yourself but kept going anyway. And the same people who doubted you will be the ones asking how you did it. So stay silent while you work. Let your grind make the noise. Let your results do the talking. Protect your dreams like precious cargo, because they are. Speak life to yourself, but don't speak too much to others until it's time. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to keep pushing, keep building, keep growing. When the time is right, your silence will have built something louder than any words ever could. And that's the kind of power nobody can take from you.